Hey, welcome back to Everyday Economics, the podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, CEO of the 501c3 nonprofit, nonpartisan Franklin News Foundation. Everyday Economics, a production of America's Talking Network. You can subscribe to all of our podcasts at americastalking.com. To support Everyday Economics, please make a tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We're recording this episode on Friday, September 27th. Joining me, as always, my friend and colleague, Dr. Orphe Divounguy. He's a PhD economist. Dr. O, our Thursday night pre-show text exchange is always fun. The things that we, sort of not, I don't say that we're necessarily wrestling over what to talk about, but we have to cull the herd and get down to the things that we think would be most interesting. And we try to keep our eye on what's going on in the news. It's been a rough ride in New York City for current mayor Eric Adams. He was charged, with bribery, wire fraud, and seeking illegal campaign donations over a number of years. Of course, these are, it's an indictment. These are charges. He hasn't been convicted, and he'll have his day or days more likely in
I think
court.
It's important to say that, right? Innocent till proven guilty, right? It's important to say that. And look, when you see something like that, it just tells you that they've been looking at him for a long time, right? Like, these charges don't just come out of nowhere.
No, I mean, and his staff has basically been sort of picked off one by one for different alleged, parts of corruption. So it was really only a matter of time before, Eric Adams had his moment, and his moment came, I believe, late in the day on Wednesday, and was sort of the talk of, the news, the national news talkers anyway, on Thursday, and certainly, still remains relevant today as we're taping the show. What I wanted to ask you is this: I think in some level, at some level, Americans are accustomed to political corruption at the local, state, and certainly at the federal level, right? I mean, we had a senator earlier this year, who was found guilty, Bob Menendez from New Jersey, the senator.
Oh my, yeah, what a story!
Right, and so I mean, but there's been a lot there was a lot of buzz about that, and people in his own party, after supporting him years ago, they asked the Democrat to make it easy on the party and to step down. With the charges against Eric Adams, I think it brings back.
Hold on, I think it's important to bring up also the thing that that was, we see these reports on the justice, right? Clarence Thomas, right? And his trips and all that stuff, right? We got all these reports that show like anyway. I mean, look, I think the bottom line, Chris, is that whether they get exonerated or not, right, of those charges, the bottom line is it hurts everyday people.
But that's what I want to talk about. So when people are taking money, I mean, most of what's going on here with Adams is, would be just it appears to be how he financed, some portion of his campaign, and the charges, that are somewhat broad at this point. And again, he'll have his day in court. With Menendez specifically, it was, about, the foreign dollars in particular that he was taking in, and whether that influenced, his vote in the Senate. But let me ask you this, and you wrote about this years ago, for Crane's Chicago Business, and when you were at the Illinois Policy Institute, I mean, you'd also written about this, the cost of it. So, why is corruption and public financial theft ultimately bad for the economy?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's really a matter of people in positions of power giving the wealthy the ability to manipulate laws for their own benefit at the expense of everyone else, right? Mm-hmm. that's what it comes down to. It's, so and so gets a special contract. We bend a rule for a particular party that will enrich one group,
Right.
maybe at the expense of everyone else.
Right.
Maybe it's a zoning law that would have not gone in the books,
Right.
but because someone but because someone made a judgment call, because someone paid for the favor of not having a competitor show up across the street,
Right.
right? Then they put the rule in place
Right.
so that no commercial business space can be built across the street,
Right.
right? And so things like that and of course, it hurts consumers, it hurts everyone, right? But it disproportionately hurts uh, the lowest income folks.
Yeah.
When you look at
Let's talk about why. I mean, and they're like you and I could spend an hours literally like detailing, like Michael Madigan, the former Speaker of the House here in Illinois. I mean, his corruption trial is due for next year, and of
But
course,
why don't we just take the example from Michael Madigan, right?
sure,
The comment, he's basically blamed for making special deals that resulted in potentially. Look, he's accused
right,
of making deals that potentially resulted in higher energy prices
right.
for
The
the
vast majority of the state of Illinois. I mean, the largest density of population that would be connected to
right.
ComEd.
Or why not talk about the property tax fraud issues,
Right,
where basically the wealthy are able to basically manipulate how
right,
much they pay in property taxes, while the poor, who are falling behind on ever rising property tax
right,
burdens, are having to walk away from their homes, because
right.
in a state like Illinois, they'll actually take your home.
That's
They'll
correct.
take your home if you can't pay your property taxes. And so, so those are perfect examples
Mm-hmm.
of how corruption can actually affect everyday people, including and especially lower income families that pay, right, where their bills are taken a disproportionate portion of their part of their incomes, right,
Right,
of their
right,
budgets every month, right? So food, electricity, uh, property taxes, this bill that never goes away, right? Like, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. There's a lot of research, including my own research, that shows that a small increase in corruption can actually raise the poverty rate.
right.
And so, using data from like 40 years worth of data, 1981 to 2017, I actually studied this issue long ago. And there's a lot more literature on the topic, economic, scientific literature on this topic. And it's a big deal. So, I mean, again, innocent till proven guilty. But if you are one of those public officials that engages in this stuff, shame on you.
Yeah, especially if it's designed to enrich your financial position, or to
Or
fund your
wealthy friends.
fund
Or
fund
wealthy
fund
friends.
yeah, right, or your friends, or to basically to fund your campaign. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
simply
mean,
it's
I'm
it's
all about
wrong.
transparency. And I think the more transparent things can be, the better, right? We need level playing fields for
Yeah,
everyone, right? We need to provide access to everyone, right? And unless you provide a level playing field for everyone, I don't think you should be elected. You
yeah,
should not, you're elected to serve, right?
right.
And so, unless you can do that, you should not be in government, right?
No,
And again, I want to say, innocent till proven guilty. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm
no,
just sharing the facts.
right. And I appreciate that as always, and good discussion. We could go on and on and on about this for hours and cite specific examples and all across America as you're listening to Everyday Economics. I mean, when you're thinking about the things that are going sideways in your local and state government in particular with regard to corruption, who ultimately does it hurt? it hurts those that are least capable of defending themselves, but it hurts everyone. And certainly, it's a serious matter that deserves your attention. So let's call it good there for Orphe Divounguy. This has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other quality podcasts at americastalking.com.